your team is very important. Pick the people around you that root for you in rooms that you are not in, because that's going to be who's spreading your message and who's getting involved behind you. Talent is so important, but I would rank that second.
Well, thank you for being on What's Mine Is Yours.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so
I love
excited.
this show. I took a deep dive watching all of your episodes, and like Krista Roser is a friend of mine. I know Kristen Barlow. I've idolized her for years. John Shami is a good friend of mine. Like, you're just an amazing host, and I think this is fun.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm so excited to have you. So you've done a lot actually already in the industry. You've worked with radio, live events. You've been an agent, label promotion. When someone asks you today, Raffi, what do you do? Like, what is your job in this business? How would you describe your job position? Like, what do you do?
It's funny because my husband did promo too, and he said, we make hillbillies rich. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I call it unquantifiable sales. So I'm trying to get my artists played on the radio all over America, at the thousands of stations out there, more so than other artists. So there's no real number unless you get a number one record, which everybody wants to ring the bell.
Sure.
There's no real number to figure out how you're doing your job right. You're selling an idea, a song one at a time, an artist, a brand, but there's no real measurement other than actual airplay. So I call it unquantifiable sales.
Well, I mean, I feel like you're at Triple Tigers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you're doing really well. I mean, you have wonderful artists on Triple Tigers. So that's what would you say is something about your job that people don't see?
Very interestingly enough, we have so many people that say they want to be radio reps because they see concerts and dinners and everybody having pizza parties and getting into shows. That is not the majority of the game. My job is to send emails, call programmers, figure out how to extend brands for my artist with certain stations or certain markets, or, follow the tour, and how can we blow this artist up in advance via the radio.
What would you say surprises, because you work with so many artists at the label, what would you say an artist is most surprised about your role in their career?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, Russell Dickerson and Scotty McCreery have been in the game for quite a while. I mean, Scotty won American Idol when he was 16. He's barely 30.
Oh my gosh.
And yet he's had this career so far. But the newer artists, I think they're surprised to know how much work has to happen to build off of what they're doing. We have Shane Prophet right now, who was on another record label, had a top 15 single, and now we're starting from ground zero with a new deal, new label. And really it's about getting him in these markets and cutting content now. Content is everything. He did this funny story about eating 6 pounds of crawfish the other day at a radio show, and how it affected his play, because he was like, I could really take a nap right now. And they did a tour of New Orleans with him, and then you got to see him go to Bourbon Street for the first time. But after those 2 days being out with our rep, he was exhausted. And he was like, I thought this was just about shaking hands in conference rooms and playing a couple songs every day. But one night it's a radio show with other artists, and you have to prepare, because if it's guitar pull, as you know, you have to tell some stories in between and create a situation. And it's not just let's do some liners or phoners and call some stations and get you on the air. Let's go to each state in the country and go to all 3 major cities that have a reporting radio station, and then the 10 stations that are secondary radio stations, and a totally different chart to really try to find mass appeal.
Well, it's crazy. I think a lot of people don't realize, to be an artist today, and I'm sure you know more than ever, that it is a little of everything. Like, you have to be able to do, shows like that. Then you have to be able to do the liners. Then you have to be able to create the content. I think I've even seen Shane do stuff online where he guessed the price of products that he does, and it's really funny.
He does. His fiance Chloe has Chanel bags and bracelets, and he says, "What's that channel? How much does that cost?" $249, and she's like, $400. He's like, oh shucks, just a country boy.
Yes,
but you have to develop a personality. You're aware of this. It's not just music intensive anymore.
No.
You're showing people who you are behind the scenes, the invasive nature of content in your home is really a thing. So you're right. It takes all angles to build a story.
Totally.
Yeah.
What was the first? I've read obviously a lot about you, but what was the first your entry into the music industry? What was your first like job title?
I was a production assistant for a radio remote with a guy named Will Bird Productions. He took me to the Grammys and the ACMs, and we learned radio remotes around the major events. So, for example, the Grammys weren't even fully music related. The booking partner had anybody who wants to tell a story, tell a junket, or do the junket. There was Vince Vaughn, Paris Hilton was there selling a handbag collection. And they're like, you're live with so-and-so in Miami. And then you'd move to the next table. They're like, hi, you're in St. Louis. And they'd be like, no, we're not. All the liner stuff and situations that happen that are not exactly what you want them to do, but they're created by the magic of radio. That's what I did. Now, I didn't get to do the booking there or supervise the interviews as much as I was like, oh my God, they're a famous artist at Madison Square Garden and this is cool. My job was really before it, taping the help me. Like gaff tape.
You know
okay.
what I mean? Like gaff tape. I mean, like the cords are not the cord, like the cables
cord.
down.
Cables.
You can't say cord in the music industry. I've heard it's a cable, not a cord. A cord is what you play.
I believe that. See?
I've been told that
We're
many
learning.
times.
I was reaching for my words and you found me. Yes, the cabling. I had to gaff tape the cabling down there. I had to carry tins of catering for artists for backstage. But doing that, I kind of got to see the real inner workings of how radio worked. There were these jocks there. In fact, Ryan Seacrest was one of the station stops, and that was before Idol, before he did Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve, and before he became the Wheel of Fortune host that he is. I mean, very early workings. He was with a station in Atlanta, and he was there just doing interviews. And
wow.
The next year I saw was the first year of Idol, and I was like,
wow. Yeah.
Big stage,
That can happen fast.
That can happen fast. But you got to see how much time they took to read the bios of all these artists and do the interview, but customize it to their market for their specific purposes.
Sure.
Was fascinating.
What would you say in those early years was like your first memory that stands out for you that was probably the most intense, that where it made you think, okay, this is an intense industry?
That's a very good question. I would say it was when I was at CAA and I was a baby agent and I had a guy named Michael Grimm who won America's Got Talent that year. And Stevie Nicks was obsessed with him.
Okay.
So Stevie Nicks wanted to put him on her tour. I had never negotiated a support slot before. I didn't know what I was doing. I was in my 20s. So I sought a lot of guidance, but just getting on the phone with Stevie Nicks' manager was like, this is way above my pay grade and way above anything I understand. And when you see somebody and you grow up with an idol like that and want to go to a show and listen to the radio or DSPs, as we now call them, wherever you find your music, was just shocking that here I am talking behind the scenes, but there are people in play. Like her agent is on the phone, her manager is on the phone, her tour manager is on the phone because they were putting a show together as we were speaking. And I was like, I know where this fits in to the ecosystem of the industry, but I'm learning a whole lot more about how that works.
Sure. Yeah. Who would you say someone kind of earlier on when you got here was someone that people's eyes were on to watch that has now since become big?
Chris Young was one. Yes. Okay. He was on a show called Nashville Star, and Miranda Lambert was on Nashville Star at the time. I think different seasons, but I could be wrong.
Nashville Star.
It was the precursor to American Idol and all of that. Buddy Jewel was their first winner.
Oh, okay.
So he had a song, Sweet Southern Comfort. I still heard it. I still hear it on the radio as a gold record once in a while if I'm traveling. But they were playing Exit In, doing showcases, try to get 30 people in. And then the next time you'd go, it was 100 people. Gretchen Wilson was doing shows in town with Big and Rich. They had the Music Mafia was a thing. And they would do Wednesday night shows. They had a $10 cover in town, and everybody that was cool and in their 20s would go have a couple beers, sing some songs. And and it was really something communal to do in terms of music. They definitely blew up after that too. It was an interesting time in the industry for sure.
But it kind of sounds, every time I sit down and talk with someone when we're talking about like over a decade ago, that it seems like it felt more, I don't know, fun. I guess you have to grow with whatever the industry is, and you have to go, because I mean, if you're not going to go with it, then you might as well get out, because it's going to keep on going with or without you.
For sure. Well said.
Which was a hard lesson for even me to want to have to learn, because I want to always turn back time. I live in nostalgia land. Like, I love that. And so when I hear of like how the industry was a while ago, I'm like, gosh, that sounded like more fun.
It was more fun in a way, because you didn't have phones to distract you all day. And when you were at a show, everybody was present at the show. And in a meeting, everybody was present in the meeting. No phones, no cellular devices. I mean, we had Blackberries then, and just got Blackberries.
Well, I kind of liked the idea of like stumbling upon a talent versus it being so orchestrated behind the scenes to kind of, well, I guess with content or social media and numbers and all of those things that have very much complicated the industry in a sense, where it's like, it's hard to tell. I talked about this on one of my last episodes where I didn't have a guest, and I talked about how it's hard to compare what's good versus what's popular.
Very much so. And I saw that episode and I really appreciated it.
Because it's confusing, and because something has a lot of streams doesn't technically mean it's what is
absolutely
good. I guess you know
absolutely. It doesn't mean it's good. Doesn't mean it's popular. It may be showing up in your algorithm and a certain amount of people's algorithms. And that's the fun part about building an artist, either in live music or on radio or working through radio, because we all live in metro centers. We live here in Nashville. We're well educated. We are constantly bombarded with, especially here, advertisements for Nissan Stadium concerts and Bridgestone and Ascend. And it's not even a club game anymore. Pinnacle over at Nashville Yards now. And the venue out in Franklin, that's a amphitheater, right? And you see all these images, and we're in the business, so we see it. But drive 45, 50 minutes in any direction outside of this city or any other city, and what do they have? The radio. And how do you get there? You can't do a show in every small town in America and hope the fire chief shows up and talks about you on TV, and hope the teachers come and talk to their classes about you, and word of mouth spreads like that. I think that's the hard part about social media and what the numbers game has done with music.
But what's interesting when you say like the smaller parts of like say middle America and these small towns, I think that is like the heartbeat though, a lot of this genre. And so it's hard when you can't get boots on the ground in certain areas, because that is a lot of the majority of your listeners, especially coming from like what you do in radio promo and all of that for artists. It's like you have to outreach to those people. And that's tricky when you can't really, especially since I'm sure you have your take on it. There isn't as many artists that do a lot of radio tours as much anymore as it used to be.
Correct. COVID kind of killed that.
And I went on mine when I was doing it right before COVID, and I remember loving it. And I hear artists like hate it.
What was your experience? Now I'm interviewing you, but I'm fascinated by this.
I loved it. Like, I'm not a morning person, so that was hard for me.
Fair.
But I knew that on the other end of when that alarm went off and I got up, it was because I got to go talk to people and sing and do what I loved. So for me, I loved it. And I also think I wish we could implement it back into artists that are signed. Because I think country music, and maybe you agree or disagree with me, is a lot about connection. And just kind of like sending your, shipping off the single to radio programmers, to me, isn't enough.
Correct.
In my opinion, it's about the personality, the person alongside the music.
Absolutely. I think the live nature of it too is fascinating. I mean, were you thrown off guard? Did anybody ask you to play live and you felt you weren't ready? Or
I try to be really prepared for those kinds of things, but don't get me wrong. Yeah, I think what threw me off the most is I was in a time when it was all about the tomato scandal of all the women stuff.
Yes.
So I think they felt like they needed to talk to me about that. And I said, I actually don't want to waste my 10 minutes here talking about that.
Good for you.
Because that was immediately making me a victim because I was a girl. And I'm like, and I'm not one. Like, I'm a girl, but I'm not a victim. So
plus you want to share your own music.
I want to share my story, not the story of every other artist who's upset because they're not playing women or whatever they claimed at the time.
Right.
So that was just my experience.
So you had a good time. You loved it.
Great
you think you would do it again?
I would love to do radio. I love radio tour. I loved it. First of all, I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I love talking to people.
Very much.
And I actually loved when people would say, say they got the song and they weren't like excited about it.
Yeah.
Then I said, give me 15 minutes with them. Like, I just put me in the room with them.
You could sell anything.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just like to interact. I was like, let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of like selling any product.
For sure.
So that's why I think it's harder these days for people like you, and what you have to do to sell your artist is sometimes your artist sells that product, not just sells the song. It's not just the song itself.
Absolutely.
So it makes it a little trickier probably for you and what you do in your job title, because you have to sell a song to radio and promote it.
Yeah.
Sometimes without really having the person there to sell it themselves.
That's very well said. Yes. It takes the artist to interface for sure for years and build relationships. You know, for radio guys and gals to step out on a song, they have to be comfortable with that person, that product, make sure that they're a well-oiled machine. You know, whether they come to the market or whether they're doing a phoner over the air, they have to be engaged. They have to be connected. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's very hard for me to understand because I just got my chem peel because I'm trying to find the fountain of youth. So that's why I'm peeling everywhere. But I'm looking for the fountain of youth, but I don't have it. But the younger generation, like yourself, has gotten so used to editing and filming themselves do 6 different times. Used to be dub smash back in the day, and now it's the overdubbing of trends on TikTok and trends on Insta Reels and all of that. But there's one take with radio. You have to listen. If you're a consumer of it, you listen to a song all the way through.
Yep.
You hope the DJ talks about it in between so that you know who this person is if you're not familiar with them or what they do or what kind of projects they're putting out. Are they EPs, so there's only 2-3 things to listen to at a time? Are they somebody who releases to digital streaming platforms every week, a different version of the same song, different songs? Do they play with beats online? I mean, there's a whole world out there that is very different than playing a song on the radio. You hear it once, you hopefully love it. Now, if you hear it a million times and you're sick of it, I've done my job.
Yeah,
that's my job.
I'm a big fan of her, but I always called that the Taylor Swift effect.
It is.
Of like, if you just played this enough, like eventually you're going to sing along to it and it becomes that thing.
It's second nature
to
you.
Totally.
You know?
I read a few articles on you. I think they were interviews, and I'm going to see what you... This is actually funny what you had said, and correct me if they even got it wrong, but it said, so you're from New Jersey.
Yes.
You said you moved to the South chasing chivalry and a love story.
That is true.
Did Nashville live up to that dream?
Oh, good question. Well, now it's just a melting pot. Now it's like, might as well be New Jersey or XYZ other state, right, in the country now, or city in the country now. But I fell in love with country music, and I didn't think I was going to. And probably you read the article, that the same article I said, there were 2 things I was never going to do. I came to college at Vanderbilt here. I was never going to join a sorority, and I was never going to listen to country music. I was like, those are just Southern constructs, and I'm a Northern girl. And second semester freshman year, I was in a sorority, and I was falling asleep to CMT every night when that was a big property, right?
Yeah.
Listening to music videos and thinking, wow, these songs are just written with so much depth and so much feeling. Because I grew up listening to classic rock, and there is depth and feeling there, but there's nothing like a country song, whether it's a love song or a situational song.
For sure.
You've written a couple of those. I love your music.
Thank you.
You're very talented.
Thank you. Well,
you're welcome.
What was a song, speaking of that, since you said you were, because I was going to address that you said you were never going to listen to country music, and now here you are.
I did.
What is a song that sticks out in your mind that changed your mind?
Wish I Didn't Know Now by Toby Keith.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was just everywhere around that time. I remember watching it on CMT Toby came and played a concert. I was like, oh, I'm familiar with this guy. I'm familiar with this music. Doing a deep dive into all his CDs. You had our CD cases that were like this big. I had all this Toby Keith music, and that song is just brilliant. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then, but you still hold my heart in the palm of your hands, and I still look like a fool in front of your friends. And it's like,
that was a good song.
Oh man, the goosebumps, just the tingles. Like, it's a story, like, is it about how he feels being wronged? And like, is that the story? Is there not a story there? Is it it's open to interpretation, but the heaviness of those lyrics, like you still hold my heart in the palm of your hand. And like, man, I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really just something. And It's Your Love. The Hope Float soundtrack was out at that time.
Oh my gosh.
Remember that? Harry Connick.
Yes.
Beat.
What a great movie. Sad movie, but great movie.
Sad
that was
movie.
like, you know what that reminded me of? I mean, totally off topic.
Love
but
that.
the beginning of that movie where she gets they're on the talk show reminded me of Jenny Jones. That's what it reminded me of.
I just saw an article about Jenny Jones yesterday and how it got very real once on that show, and somebody unalived themselves because they were sprung on talk show TV.
I think that also happened with Jerry Springer too.
Did it?
Of them, or someone murdered somebody.
Yeah. Sorry, I know. Yeah. Weird to talk about, but you're right. I just heard Jenny Jones's name the other day, and you are correct. The beginning of that show, when they, ladies and gentlemen, please come out.
Yeah, tragic. Great, great soundtrack.
Yeah,
and great movie.
Bring it back.
You also did I don't know which interview it was as well, but you talked about when you were visiting here, for the first time, about a tornado.
Oh,
Can you kind of give a little of that story? Because I think that there is something really symbolic about that trip and you doing that.
I like that answer, because I do think there was something symbolic. My dad was taking me to see colleges in the South that I had applied to and gained admittance to. And it was between a college here in Nashville and a college in New Orleans was my final decision. And we visited New Orleans and it went smooth sailing and everything was fine. And then we flew here for a situational orientation. And we couldn't land because it was the tornado of 1998 that blew through all of downtown Nashville, blew out windows and all the buildings. So I will save you the insane details, but we wound up landing after almost running out of fuel in the air for 4 hours. We were circling Nashville. They were going to land us in Cincinnati. Planes were being diverted to Cincinnati. So they landed us in the parking lot of a tire rubber factory plant in Akron, Ohio.
Whoa.
They bussed us to Cincinnati and got us a hotel room for the night. The next morning, my dad and I flew out, landed here, and I said, this is where I want to be.
Oh my gosh. That is actually kind of, you would almost think that like, let's just go home. We did so well in New Orleans. This is fine. Like, and then I would also think if I were a parent too, like if weather like this happens a lot, I wouldn't love this for you.
Fair. Yep.
You know?
That's dramatic. And we've had insane tornadoes ever since, right? Including 2020, which just set off the entire year, right?
We started it, I think.
We started with that, right? But it's true. There was some reason I was like not supposed to love it as much here. And I came and became obsessed.
Yeah. Do you feel like your life hinges on moments like that?
Yes. Do you feel like yours does?
Yes. Yeah, I really do. First of all, I don't think anything is a coincidence. I don't think anything happens just,
Yeah.
I think there is a reason for literally everything, because I think your story is written for you. And I think you might not know what the next page says.
I love this.
But it's there. It's already written. You just have to turn the page.
For sure.
And you'll get there. Have you ever seen the movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth
Yes, but
Paltrow?
it's been so long.
Okay, it's kind of that the idea is if it's like two like realities where she takes one train, her life leads one way, she takes the other train, or she doesn't get on the train, her life goes the other way. What would you say, other than the tornado experience, is a sliding doors experience in your career where if you hadn't done that thing, you don't think you'd be where you are?
That's very interesting. I think if I'd never left the agency world, I definitely wouldn't be in the work chair that I'm in, but I don't think I would be so emotionally involved in music anymore because the booking world is amazing. It's a beast on its own. The day-to-day logistics of finding stopping points that can afford to pay an artist in between Denver and Spokane on a Tuesday is like mind-blowing. People do that, right?
Yeah.
Avoiding other artists in the market, avoiding hockey games and getting avails for venues. And
True.
this.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. But I think for me, that was so fun because it was a challenge of puzzle pieces, and I like puzzle pieces. When I realized I could work music and be as enthusiastic and passionate about backing an artist song-wise and not just live-wise, I don't think I'd be an empath like I am. There's something that burst open when I thought, okay, I've been an agent for 3 years. I could stay on this plane and continue this. And maybe, with Jesus and luck and good friends, maybe I'd be a higher up in an agency now. But I'd never really understand human nature the way I strive to or feel like I can had I not turned to, wow, okay, here's a Gloriana song. And now I'm moving to Phoenix and I'm going to, remember them?
Yes.
I'm going to move to Phoenix. Never been there, never visited there. My family's on the Eastern Seaboard. My friends were here, and I'm just going to take a leap and see what this is like. And I called 50 stations that I'd never spoken to before.
Wow.
And started relationships with these people in Salt Lake City and Seattle and Portland and Tucson and Reno, and that I never would have grown in my desire to understand people.
Because I want to get to the agent part of your career, but how did you decide, I know you kind of explained a little bit, but how do you go from being an agent to wanting to say, okay, I want to work in radio promo for a song?
That's a very interesting situation. I was booking West Coast clubs at the time, Texas, Oklahoma, and Denver West.
Okay.
And I wound up booking some venues where the program director was booking the venues or suggesting the artists. So Nate Deaton was big in San Jose.
Okay.
Still is. Still is. He's out there. But they had the Rodeo Club and the Crystal Palace in Bakersfield. Legendary venue. Jerry Hufford was running the Crystal Palace, and that is right outside of KUZZ, the radio station. So I would see from the California route down, there was the Ace of Spades in Sacramento, and then there was a club, there's Crawdaddies in Visalia, and there was the Crystal Palace in Bakersfield. And somehow I got to know some of these people who, when they couldn't call me back, were wearing 6 or 7 hats. And one of them was doing the morning show at a station, programming the music at a station. And I thought, man, I'd really like to hang out with those people on a regular basis. Plus, I'd love to know what they know about the history of singers and songwriters. And that's how I made the leap, was that I wound up doing West Coast radio for Warner Brothers or Warner Music Nashville out of Phoenix.
Okay.
And traveling to and covering all of the program directors on the West Coast that I'd been booking stuff in their markets.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
It's complicated.
No. But it's an interesting avenue to get there, and what interests you in it. Because, it is two different worlds in a sense. So it's interesting. The more I sit down with people in this business, you realize how many different hats they've worn to kind of get to where they are now and where they ended up being passionate about the most.
Absolutely.
So you kind of have to try them all on for size to see.
How did you get into hosting, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I told you off camera, I love to talk.
Yeah.
And I loved being interviewed. As an artist, I love sitting down and talking with people. And I hate to say it like this because I've been in a lot of wonderful interviews, but I've been in a lot of interviews as the artist where I felt like I was having to lead the interview.
Yep.
And it frustrated me because I didn't feel like I was being asked questions, the things that I think really truly mattered. It was like they were just having to run through the motions.
Yep.
And I was like, how can I now do it where I know whoever sits across from me is going to really enjoy the questions that we talk about in the conversation we have. And they feel like they really said something of value and got something out of that.
You have a gift.
Thank you.
You do have a people gift. You should work on song promotion.
Well, hey, we could talk.
We could talk.
Getting back to your CAA agent days, because that's not an easy feat to do, and that was incredible. What does being an agent teach you about artists that fans don't understand?
That's a great question. Their training program, I feel like I kind of got my MBA there. We would do cross-departmental promotions.
Okay.
So one time I pitched to Pete Wentz of Fall Out Boy on how to like do a country song and come to Nashville. And then we pitched to Duff Goldman, the cake boss, about festivals. How do you do a dessert festival and not have people buy tickets, but not have people get sick to their stomach? And, we had a team in New York and LA of trainees help us with Phil Vassar development when Phil Vassar was big. Not that he isn't anymore, but he wound up writing with a playwright in New York City that he'd never done that before. He wound up being on funnyordie.com. He was the first country artist when that was a comedic site.
I remember that.
And he was looking into starting a wine brand, and just the collaboration behind the scenes that's more than just booking dates. Fans would be so surprised, I think, to see how sponsorships come together, how pitching for festivals comes together, because it's more than just one song like I pitch now or a catalog of songs. It's really about, does this fit? I mean, I remember there were artists who wouldn't do rodeos because they were very much animal activist people. And so we knew not to pitch them for rodeos.
Makes sense.
You start to learn a little more about the inside human being behind the scenes and what they're willing to be around. Some artists that are sober, you'd have to make sure that their appearances weren't in bars.
Sure.
I remember there was a senior agent there at the time. We had Taylor Swift, and she was young and coming up. She was not 21. So she couldn't play bars, so she had to play alternative venues and theaters, and they had to get creative about that. And
that is harder when you're a younger artist, because I remember even when I was doing like touring with a band, it was all bar gigs, most of them.
Most of them.
Almost all of them. Maybe restaurants. You got lucky
Sure.
if you were in a restaurant that
Sure.
also had a stage, or a casino.
Or lucky that you could do something at a high school, do something with a marching band or with a football team, or you just had to be real creative about what does this brand look like, and is it wholesome? Is it tiring? Is it athletic? Do we need to put them in football stadiums doing anthems? And, what's the situation look like? So I would think that fans would be mind blown by most of it. I mean, if you just sat there and you saw it's like a stock trading floor of offers coming in, and let's put a list of names together that love Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola brand is going to do On the Bricks in Atlanta, and they want artists that kind of live that lifestyle and enjoy their product. And I think finding out, people are so inquisitive behind their keyboards too nowadays online, like why would this happen? Well, there is a why. I can't explain it to you, but there is a why.
Now, when it comes to touring, what would you say artists, what was the biggest thing you saw an artist underestimate about touring?
How many days in a row their voice could hold up. I never would have thought that was a thing. It happens to males, females.
Sure.
It happens to any time with hormonal changes or voice changes or anything. You have weekend warriors who are comfortable doing 3 days, driving in between. By the time they get home, it's 4 days, half a day on each side. And then they're checked out until the next week, and they do that. You have people who can try to stretch 4 or 5 days in a row, but it's hard to keep yourself well. You wind up getting sick. You don't know if you're allergic to some climates. The desert, living in Phoenix is very dry. Vegas is very dry. You have to hydrate. Colorado is very high altitude wise. Some artists have to take oxygen, whether they're playing Red Rocks or just on a bus driving through, you learn a lot about what an artist can handle. And I think everybody is different because we're all humans.
So, absolutely.
I'm sure you've dealt with that, but you wouldn't know getting on a plane and going to...
You don't know what people's limits are until you put them to the test.
That's it.
So I think that, that's got to be an interesting situation for an agent to have to learn with their different artists. And obviously as an agent, you've negotiated money, leverage, opportunity. What do you think the artists try to fight for that they should fight less for?
Great question. I think it's hard to say because I'm not in their shoes. I've never been an artist myself. And, there is ego involved and reality involved and their own craft involved. But I think fighting for space on the poster for headlines, the size of the billing, do you relate with this?
But how silly. But,
it is silly, right? Because the money, you do have to not just pay your staff and your crew, but you have to pay overdrive gas mileage. And you have to pay families, especially now in this economy, are really feeling it. And so to have somebody on the road operating a semi, driving all the way across the country and then having a West Coast week and then driving to the middle of the road, money is important in that aspect. You don't think about it when you hear ticket prices and everybody goes, that artist wants so much money.
Yeah.
They might have big projectors. They might have big video walls that they're taking with them and need 12 trucks at a headline level, So I understand that part. Leverage, I understand, this person has had this many hits, that many hits. But man, whether it's artists or management, when you are arguing how big the billing is on a multi-genre festival, just get up there and get your own graphic and put it up there, and your people will come see you, as well as gain other fans,
So that's something that artists probably should spend less time caring about. What is something that you would encourage an artist to double down on to fight for?
Great question. I do think taking care of themselves is something that they should fight for, because we hear all the time about artists who have become sober, who are trying to take better care of themselves.
Absolutely.
Mental health is becoming more and more of an issue to be in the positive, right? There aren't a lot of artists that take their therapists out. There are some, which is really smart. Tim McGraw, Sam Hunt, they all travel with the gyms and the trainers.
Yeah, I've heard about these. Yeah.
That's fun to watch. We're only human. That's fun to watch. But I think finding that niche that makes your spirit whole is something I wish artists would fight for more than everything they're asking for. Because if you keep your body and your instrument healthy, you'll be able to do this hopefully a lot longer than being a flash in the pan.
I was about to say the longevity of that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I was actually leading into what I was going to ask next, because longevity is really important in this business, and you should strive for that versus just a flash in the pan situation. So you've seen artists rise and fall. What would you say separates artists from longevity to being that flash in the pan?
Great question. I think it's really building your fan base and doing it with intention. If you are going back to certain markets and you are seeing your fan base growing and you're seeing your socials growing and you're seeing your radio presence growing, maybe you'll be nominated for an award show at some point. Doing that slowly and really paying attention to what you're growing, being interested in that more than the fame and the money, leads to more longevity in a career. The people that are obsessed with the number of views and how rich they can be and how showy they can be, to each is his or her own. I mean, people are wildly famous in all ways, but to have tent poles that you keep growing yourself and monitoring and being involved and invested in your own career really makes a difference. Whether you are a fan of Luke Bryan or Luke Combs or Shinedown or Adele, trying to get on those tours because you want to see the magic there, you want to see if your music fits, you want to grow bigger audiences, that's important too, but it'll never be as important as watching yourself do it and not tiring of it too. I think if you do it with intention, you're less likely to burn out.
That's a great point. Great point, because I think there is a lot of people that do or even fake their branding in a sense, and they get burnt out of that, and that will eventually, not even making, I am fully on board with you need to make music that obviously masses love, but you have to love it too. That's the problem. Is there's finding the magic of the both. If you just please the audience, you'll burn out. If you just please yourself, the audience isn't going to like it, so you just won't even be welcome in. So somewhere along the line, there has to be that happy medium, and it's finding the medium is, I think, that special magic sauce that's hard to find.
I think that's very well said. Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you something that like is, I guess, a controversial question in the sense, and I have an answer for it. And I know you're going to say, when I ask you, you're going to say, it's a little of everything. And I understand that. But you have to pick one.
Okay.
What creates the longevity of a very successful artist? Is it talent, work ethic, team, or timing? You have to pick one.
Ooh.
And I know it's a little of all of them.
I get that. It is a little of all of them.
Because I'm going to rank them for you, in my opinion, after.
Okay, I love this.
But which one would you pick first?
I would say, oh gosh, that is so hard. I would say your team is very important.
That was my number one.
And it was your number one? Pick the people around you that root for you in rooms that you are not in. Because that's going to be who's spreading your message and who's getting involved behind you. That also includes, your glam team, your therapist, your,
it's the
everything.
village.
It takes a village. You're absolutely right. Talent is so important, but I would rank that second.
Okay.
Oh, this is so hard.
And then you have work ethic and timing.
What a wild question. I think work ethic is third if I had to rank them.
Okay.
Because you can be forced to do things you don't want to do. The work ethic will find its way
Right.
the longer you're out doing it. And timing
Is last.
It is important, but I think any time is a good time for songs that evoke emotion. Any time is a good time to go on tour.
Well, music
have to be a little lucky.
Music never goes out of style, so out of time. So
Right.
do you want to hear mine?
Yes, I want to hear yours.
We're a little different.
Okay.
And that sounds really pessimistic when you're going to hear my last one.
It doesn't.
Okay. It's going to be, for me, it goes team,
Okay.
work ethic,
Okay.
timing,
Okay.
then talent.
Talent last.
I hate to say that.
Okay. Is there an example without saying a name, but is there an example of a situation?
I don't care about names, but I think I have anything right off the top of my head where I would just be like, blast somebody.
Right.
Just because I've seen it enough to where, I mean, you can walk up and down these streets and the talent is oozing, and then you question sometimes the things that do make it, right?
Right.
You go, well, how'd that happen? Well, because they have a really good team.
That's
Or
very
maybe
interesting.
they've outworked that person.
Yep.
And they could say yes to everything and not turn it down, and that supersedes the talent half of the time.
Ooh, I love this.
So
You're right on.
I mean, I think that I've watched it too many times being in a city, in a town where everybody's talented.
Yes.
That it almost feels like the talent is the least important part to the ingredients.
That's very true and very interesting. I have recently tried to go out more. I've hit especially this time of year, it's so dark early and it's cold outside, and I can get really lazy with going to see talent and going to see shows. But I live downtown, so I can hear screaming at all hours of the day, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can hear, and it's really a cacophony in terms of like a mixture. I hear drums from one point and depending on the sound system, female vocals that are very loud or something that sounds pitchy because I don't have the right mix out in the street. But if you realize at one given moment how much talent is in Nashville, I mean, you go to the Virgin Hotel for a meeting or a coffee, and all of a sudden somebody's playing the inside, the outside, the speakeasy downstairs. Yeah. Then there's a writer's round here. There's a writer's round here. There's girls with guitars. Every hotel has somebody in the lobby now. The airport. And there are multiple venues at the airport now. It used to be the one Tootsie's spot, and now they've got somebody at the Southern, and they got somebody at whatever they have now, Gene Simmons Rockin' Chicken or whatever it is.
So now moving on to like what you do now, which is a lot of radio promotion for labels, for artists at the label that you're at. What would you say is the biggest misconception about how songs get played?
Oh, I think the biggest misconception is that somebody is just as popular in every city in America as they expect that they are.
Okay.
And I break that down as in you have some sounds and some artists that surf, and you have some artists that have influence from Beyonce or Jack Johnson or Jack White or strictly country heritage acts. What's different is regionally, sometimes you have to fight a harder battle to put an artist in a certain region, if that makes sense. It's hard to explain, but for a very traditional sounding artist, let's just say,
Very good point.
could be a Scotty McCreery, could be a Zach Top. Are they singing with their hats on? Are they singing about Amarillo? That's going to be more popular lyrically in the Southwestern region than Connecticut or Maine or, you know, Spokane, Washington. Are you singing like Noah Kahan about stick season and the trees turning colors in the spring, and in the winter they lose all their leaves? Well, is the desert going to relate to that? Is anybody in California with the palm trees year round going to relate to that? So I think there's a misconception that if somebody is popular, they're just popular everywhere. And it should be easy to get a number one record because, duh, it just sounds good.
Right. Okay.
You know?
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. And what would you say actually is a real reason that a song, you move the needle?
I think a real reason is touching a nerve with a program director. Like we just had Scotty McCreery, Bottle Rockets, with Hootie and the Blowfish, blew up last summer. And when we played it for programmers, the chills that they got, whether it was over Zoom playing it or live at a summit, you know, keeping things confidential and keeping them quiet as we roll it out, the nostalgia gave these people goosebumps. And they were like, I played this Hootie song when I first started in radio. That's a very different feeling than Russell Dickerson's Happened to Me, which was a big, now multi-genre
So much fun.
hit. So much fun that became more popular because of the social trend, the TikTok, the dance trend. Every station sent us videos of, not every station, most stations sent us videos of their staff behind the conference table doing the steps and all of that, you know, and that touched a nerve. Like that was engaging, whereas, you know, a feature with Darius and the Blowfish, Hootie and the Blowfish, really touched a nerve for people that feel that. Like Ella Langley, we're working Ella Langley right now, and she can do no wrong, you know?
Not right now. No.
Not right now. And that's a bad example only because Choosing Texas is like the biggest, it's number 3 all genre right now in terms of consumption and airplay on the Billboard Hot 100, which is like insane.
Okay, then we got to, before, I don't even want to interrupt you, but like I have to because I brought it up on my last episode. The cover art is absolutely supposed to be Megan Maroney and Riley Green, right? Like it's supposed to be.
I can't even tell you what the cover art is. I know the single art is the picture of her with the white half shirt.
Oh no, but that's beautiful. But
it is beautiful.
No, it's the convertible. It's like a cartooned image of the convertible.
The image
with the blonde.
That goes to show you how much I look at imagery
like
versus.
You don't have to
I'll have to look.
Tell me.
I'll have to look for sure.
Because of the paparazzi pictures of Megan and Riley.
Yes.
I forgot where they were, in his hometown or something. And it was like, and then when the cover art came out, I go, I mean, I love it. It's fun.
Is that what the conspiracy is on the dark web?
And I love a conspiracy.
The fan conspiracy.
Put my tinfoil hat on, and it's like, but I'm telling you, but it works. So even if that wasn't supposed to be, it's the whole nodding of like not saying it, like, and it works. Right. I mean, it helps. I mean, don't get
whatever makes you popular. I mean, listen, stream it everywhere you get your music.
How do you know when you think a song is going to be like the one, like to push? Like,
that's an interesting question too, because it's a little above my pay grade. So our co-presidents, Kevin Herring and Annie Ortmeyer, and our co-owner George Corey usually get in a room and try to see what the metrics are on certain songs on different projects. That's not a gold standard, you know, just because it reacts on streaming doesn't mean it's not a radio record, and vice versa. But there's usually some context of the album title, or does this make sense with something that just came out in pop culture? Is it the time with timing? Timing lasts for me, right? Timing of projects and releases. Is it the right time for this? And maybe we hold this. We've been really lucky in the last couple of years to have some big hit records, and they're all sonically very different. So my team and I get to work what we're given to work versus really picking. I think they go to tastemakers too and ask, what do you think of this song? How does it fit in the context of what your brand is doing this year? And they get some ground research going in the cone of silence and the trust tree before they spiral out the project and say, this is the next song.
Would you say songs mainly, obviously it goes both ways, but would you say they're mainly more picked with an instinct or with data in mind?
Ooh. I've seen them picked both ways. I think if you have an artist whose main audience is a streaming audience,
You have to go with data.
you have to go with data. And I think it's different for an artist that's maybe a radio-friendly artist that doesn't stream 3 million a week, 2 million a week, 500,000 a week.
I was going to say artists
that
like
goes on
Carrie
gut.
Underwood, for instance, I think probably does better on radio than she does on streaming.
Yeah.
And I think it also is demographically age-wise. I think younger people stream.
Yeah, you're
Older
right.
people
You're
like
right.
to listen to the radio. They don't want to let that go.
Absolutely.
And I think they're more apt to, there's artists, you're right, that are just generationally work differently in different scenarios.
In different scenarios, different cases. So does one work better than the other? Not necessarily. But if it is a strict radio hit, Kevin and Annie and George really have some ears for, Kevin especially has spent 45 years in promotion in Nashville at major labels and independents along the way. And he's grown Triple Tigers in the 10 years that Triple Tigers has been in existence, to where it seems like it's just second nature that these songs are hits, but they're not. They're not all hits. And he seems to go with gut instinct.
Has your instinct ever been wrong?
Oh, yeah. My instincts are always wrong. I am a very much a gut check person. And sometimes I ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire. And it winds up a mess, and it winds up not helping me complete a real strategy.
Okay, yeah.
Like right now we have quite a few artists on Triple Tigers, and we have Acondo Music as our second imprint promotionally. We have Turnpike Troubadours on that imprint and Tyler Nance. And we're talking about what we do with Country Radio Seminar. We're going to have 3,000 radio people here in attendance in Nashville. Saves us the money and time traveling all over the country, with one artist, two artists. But how do we make sure each artist feels separated and rejoices in their talent and their art, and it's not 4 artists on one guitar pull at the same time, 4 males? How do you differentiate? That instinct gets messed up too. That gut of like, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do with Shane Prophet's a good old country boy. We're gonna take people out of the city and we're gonna go do a bonfire about an hour out. We tried that once with one of our artists at their house, and with traffic going to Brentwood, we didn't know about 4 years ago that it would be an hour going out and an hour coming back. And by the time we got people to that artist's house, they had to turn around and take an Uber all the way back to another scheduled event. So that gut instinct was wrong too. So whether it's song related, event related, or just a mere consideration, I've been wrong plenty.
Have you ever believed in a song instinctually more than the artist has themselves?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I've seemed to work with very enthusiastic artists
that's good.
over time, which is great.
Yeah.
And being in a car with them for 2 weeks and traveling around the West Coast or getting on 4 a.m. flights, you really see people's personalities. And I've had artists at 2 labels that were just very engaged with what they were doing. But I will say, I think Frankie Ballard, when we were working with him at Warner, he had 3 #1 singles in a row, and we put out a single called Cigarette, and I was into it. And I think he was proud of it as a creator,
Okay.
as an artist, because it was very artistic. They had taken a full band down to the Rio Grande and gotten a house like the 70s rockers did and produced it, mastered the album in a house all together, like living together for a week versus having a bunch of studio musicians in Nashville. And there's no right way or wrong way. But he really lived that. And I think every song on that record was so special to him. And I wound up being like, this is great. We'll send out some mailers. We'll do candy cigarettes. We'll do, all the things that set it up. And I think he was just like very cool, because he is cool. He's just a cool cat. But he was like, cool, we'll just go see how it feels when we play it for programmers. And it was like, this is amazing, and he just was very chill about it.
What's a song that obviously you've been excited about a lot, that you've been behind, but what's one that stands out in your mind that you were incredibly excited to get out there and be promoting?
Speechless by Dan and Shay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Speechless.
Yeah.
We were coming off of Tequila. That was a big surprise. What a high. And we thought nothing could top this. And they used their wedding videos of their first look with their wives. And as soon as I saw the video that we were going to be working that song, tears, goosebumps, the whole thing. I was like, let's go, and that was a really special record.
Yeah. That was an incredible. I mean, gosh, I want them to come out with more stuff.
Same.
What's an artist you said that you've worked with that does really well, like boots on the ground with radio, like just gets it?
Russell Dickerson.
Yeah.
Hands down. He's funny. He's authentic. He's goofy. He's not afraid to be himself. He has real relationships with these programmers who, by the way, have jumped markets, noticing people in a crowd. When we do radio rooms, like in arena tours, if an artist is a headliner or is direct support to somebody else's tour, they never know because they come in on a bus who's going to be in the room. Of course, we prepare them in a way.
Sure.
You'll see so-and-so and so-and-so, but without having long-lasting relationships, you'd be surprised at how many new artists go, oh, it's nice to meet you for the first time. Versus Russell, who goes, man, we were in Vegas that time and we were on the Link spinning Ferris wheel thing. And they're like, how? And I'm like, how was that? I helped set up the event. How do you remember that? And he's like, it was ACM's like 2019. And you're like,
he's just good at it.
He's just good. He has the memory of an elephant and he's good with people. And I think he really lives in the moment. Not that other artists don't, but that helps burn it in his brain.
Well, I was about to say that, when you have an artist like that, does that make your job typically usually easier? Because programmers clearly, they play favoritism obviously to some degree. And if you have an artist that is just a people person and remembers people and connects with people, I would imagine a programmer is far more inclined to say yes to the next single you're ready to push.
For sure. I think that is definitely the way it has been. I think right now there are more artists than ever trying to crack in from the outside, and each of the majors have like 20 new artists they're waiting to put out. We even have artists we're waiting to put out. You don't want to bury people in singles and compete against yourself. So the programmers and gatekeepers have more decisions than they've ever had before.
Sure.
And so it's not as automatic as it used to be, but it does definitely help if there is an established relationship over time.
I would imagine it's far harder today for an independent then versus people who are signed to get radio play.
Sure. Because you need somebody to be talking about you, to be sending emails about you, sending visuals, texting people and going, oh, do you see this blowing up on socials? Do you see the data behind this? Do you see the streams that are happening? Do you have them in your market? Are we, should we go out to lunch during the Kern County Fair or, whatever? Yeah. If somebody's not talking about you all the time, you are competing with 35, 40 outlets in Nashville that are every week talking to the same people about X number of priorities and here's all the music we have and just play it. It's like, I think the stat now is 60,000 songs maybe are uploaded every day to Spotify and other Amazon and Apple music platforms. How do you sort through that? I don't know, but it's because you can create from your bedroom if you know how to use a DistroKid or get your
Which is
music out
cool,
there.
but yet sometimes I've compared this to music industry now a few times like this. I compare it to the menu at the Cheesecake Factory, where I'm just
it is immense.
I can't.
It's like the CD holders we were talking about before, just pages and pages of just silver CDs or, holograms, and they all look the same. And you're like, what do I choose? That's really the analogy that I would say.
And sometimes people just go to, I think what happened in 2020 is like people just went to what they felt comfortable with.
Sure.
So it's hard to push new, and it was hard for a while.
Sure.
Because nobody wanted new. They wanted what felt like home. So something that they felt safe with.
Yep.
And testing something new at that time was just like, forget it.
Yeah, forget it.
Like,
why would we step into the unfamiliar? We're already unfamiliar enough with our world,
And it's been a slow climb back into finding getting out of familiarity. It's
For
been,
sure.
and we are starting to see it now, but it was like a bit harder. I know we're kind of coming to the end, but I want to talk to you about
This is so fun.
2 more things.
Yes, I love it.
I want to know what is one moment here in Nashville since you've been doing this, like a memory that you'd want to relive.
It's kind of geeky, but very special.
Okay.
I was honored for being musicians on calls.
Perfect, because that was what I was going to talk to you last about. So
Okay.
Great.
So being the volunteer of the year for musicians on call, I had done the bedside programs. And for those who are not familiar, that is an organization that is nationwide that brings artists, well-known artists and local artists of any sort to the bedsides of children in the pediatric hospitals, veterans, any real group that's hospitalized for a while. They've proven that music is healing. Music is very important to the whole of individuals. You see Alzheimer's patients whose mind comes back and they start to sing with the artist if they remember the song. And you see kids that have been in the hospital waiting on heart transplants and doing chemo for weeks and being hospitalized away from their friends. And they've colored all over their room, not on the walls, but like everything, and they go, do you know any Disney songs? And so anyway, so it's a great program. And I started with the bedside program in Phoenix when I lived out there. And then I came here in 2019. And then in 2020, everything shut down for sure, visitor wise with hospitals. And we did an online program and I was able to just host online. So extremely honored last year when they made me the volunteer of the year. I love the program. I will talk about it forever.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. I will try to get radio stations involved when they have a new program, whether it's Dallas or Baltimore or Boston, or anywhere in between. Omaha, Des Moines. I'm not leaving out any part of the country. But we had just finished ACMs in Dallas. Scotty McCreery had an album that came out that week, and he did Live in the Vineyard in Northern California. He did Stagecoach. He did a Stagecoach performance. He went to, Chicago, Boston, New York. He did the junkets. And I had seen him the last day of ACMs. We do the radio remotes, and he had a outdoor performance, and he had, he was just being pulled out from every direction. And I said, what are you looking forward to this weekend? He said, finally being home. And I said, I understand that. And he had a new baby at the time, his little boy Avery's first boy. And the next Tuesday was the benefit. So I get to the benefit and they roll out that we've brought somebody special to announce Raffi's volunteer award. He was just inducted to the Opry Hall of Fame. He, just had his 6th #1 record in a row. He, reading all these stats, and all of a sudden Scotty came out. He flew on his own dime and his own time after he spent that whole week because he's that special and because he loves musicians on call and because he was there. I felt so special because we are the ones who work for everybody else behind the scenes. And it was like, wow, the fact that an artist would do that for me that I have so much respect for and so much love for, it was like tingling, like can't even explain it.
It
sticks out in my memory.
It does, but because, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but it sticks out sometimes because you don't hear a lot of those stories sometimes.
Yeah.
And so when you do, I think they should be said more because
Yeah.
someone like Scotty McCreery, even though he's had an immense amount of success, people like that I wish were even held higher because I always just really want the really good people to succeed. And I still believe the good ones win.
For sure.
I just think it sometimes gets a little trickier these days now to watch it happen. So when you do hear things like that and you see like success with really good people, you know that you're standing behind something amazing.
Something really special. And that's the other thing. This world seems like it's spiraling out of control, and music is healing, and we get to be in this space, as trying as it can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And there are really good people in this industry, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. You know, the organizations, the ACM, the CMA, they take care of musicians' health care, and they have Lifting Lives program and the CMA Foundation that give a lot of money towards music education and other nonprofits. And it's a very familial community, this country community. And you get to be a part, and I get to be a part. And stuff like that happens all the time. So many artists have their own charity, and you don't hear about that, or their foundation. And you know, they bury it amongst CMA Fest because nobody likes attention for that. They don't do the volunteerism or the money making for that exhibition.
Sure.
But we do need to talk about it more because it gives people faith. There are good people here.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, more than not. It's just sometimes the bad is louder, and that's just how life is. And lastly, I have one more thing for you.
Okay.
What are you most excited for right now? A song, an artist? What is igniting you right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Our roster is so stacked. It's very good.
You've got a good one. Yeah.
It's very good. And I think there might be somebody new in the next 3 to 6 months. We'll see if that happens, you know, kind of, you'll see if it comes out. How about that?
Yeah.
But I will say Turnpike Troubadours is very fun because I was a really big fan in the early 2000s. When I booked Texas and Oklahoma, they were on the come up. And so getting to now bring radio into that world, because they are not a commercial band that has had radio success before, but being a true fan, because I had to go travel on my own and I didn't know anybody in Texas, Oklahoma, I would sneak into a show of theirs. I mean, I would pay for it, but here, there, Austin or Lubbock or Amarillo around my travels, amongst like Pat Green and the great Texas artists that are out there that have been there and are there now and are still growing. But to get to work on something like that in a different realm of bringing their songs to radio, which are very cerebral, by the way.
Yeah.
They're very lyrical, and have them see the success with the Landman soundtrack and the Yellowstone soundtrack.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Which is like pop culture cool.
Totally right now.
But as much as I'm excited about everybody that you know we have on our roster, that's just the cherry on top for me.
Well, that's amazing.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I had a blast.
This was fun, and we need to do it more often.
We're absolutely. We're both wearing black blazers and everything.
That's it.
We get it.
We're simpatico.
Well, thank you very much for being on What's Mine Is Yours.
Thank you, and you are a stunning woman and a true talent, and people should check out your music for sure.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Tiffany Woys. Thank you so much for watching another episode of What's Mine Is Yours. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to check out more, come visit our socials and follow us at WMIY.podcast.